Okay, guys, so I wanted to continue to talk about narcissism, dismantling narcissism, and the steps going through the void, talking about, some of the things that could be painted negatively, the ego, the greed, and as long as that doesn't affect anybody else, it doesn't have to be something negative. It could be something positively, but jealousy is where it crosses the line. That's the fifth step in narcissism, and it going through this emotional process, and how that it could be something positive, but most of the time it ends up being something negatively. And once they start to affect other people's life, that's when it really crosses the line. Okay, because you're affecting other people and detrimentally and negatively affecting them. Okay, so wanted to continue to talk about arrogance. And what is arrogance? So arrogance, once the narcissist is jealousy and they have begun to act out on this jealousy, it's actually two things happening simultaneously. So one, them misrepresenting themselves as perfect, and like they don't make any mistakes, or something's so easy. They'll pretend like something's so easy and they're so perfect and incapable of making a mistake, while at the same time diminishing somebody else's ability and reducing their talent. Okay, so that's arrogance. Okay, it's two things happen simultaneously, and usually you'll hear the narcissist say something like, "So what did I just say? It was them being so perfect." Okay, so them doing it at the same time. So they'll say it's, "Oh, I'm." Or it doesn't have to be that in that way. It could be them reducing somebody else's talent. Yeah, they weren't that good, or they were overrated. Man, and then a narcissistic phrase. I was the one who was the best at shooting, and I was the one who was the best at doing this and that. I was the one who did this, and I'm so great, and I'm so perfect, and and what they're doing is misrepresenting themselves as being perfect, or acting like life is so easy, and it's so easy to be perfect in this way, and it's really not. And they're not perfect, and they're full of flaws, and they're full of their own imperfections. But and that's created some insecurities, and so they feel this void that's in their own life with the need to want to shame other people. And that could be, I experienced a lot of this. So it's like a lot of like fat shaming, a lot, but the thing about it is that I don't really care. But, they'll try to fat shame you, make you feel like you're supposed to feel shame for being fat or big or something like this. They might try to make you feel shame for being tall, or you're not that tall, or you're not that big, or this and that. Well, yeah, I'm almost as tall as you, and blah blah. And then they'll run their own self-promotion commercial. So somebody else wasn't that good looking, or some of these I've seen other girls do this, other girls, saying, so so and so, she is not that good looking, this and that. I was the one who I get this as many guys, or so she did, or they start bragging about themselves. They're boasting about themselves. Okay, so that's the arrogance. It's two things happen simultaneously: shaming somebody else, and then boosting and misrepresenting themselves as being perfect, or they don't have imperfections, or it's so easy to be perfect, and they're so great. And it's not just the furthest thing from the truth. But that's, some of these narcissistic psycho statements. But next, I wanted to get into, another little game that they'll play is that, through the arrogance, is that they'll try to disbase somebody. So what is disbasing? Knocking somebody down off a fundamental base. Okay, so accentuating the flaws of others. Okay, they'll start to talk about how somebody else is not perfect, and somebody else had flaws, and somebody else did this and that, and there was, maybe over exaggerating the flaws, over exaggerating their imperfections, extenuating somebody else's struggles, and that they're going through, so somehow, because they're so insecure, and they're insecure in their own beliefs, their own talent, their own physical body, their own mental comprehension, their own intelligence, that they feel the need to, and actually think that they're gaining a little bit of energy by spitting this type of verbiage. But it could be knocking somebody off a foundational base. Okay, so and that could be their culture, talking about somebody else's culture, talking about somebody else's race. Okay, talking about somebody else's race in a negatively way, and they'll probably start wanting them to feel shame. Maybe it might be through jokes or trying to shame them, but ultimately it's debasing them and knocking them on this foundational basis through trying to shame their moral character. Okay, so wanting them to feel shame about something that they did. Okay, and over exaggerating maybe the smallest little imperfection. They'll sit there and they'll start to extenuate it and start to really talk about the chink in the armor of the knight. He has that one little chink in his armor. They're not talking about how great his uniform is. They're not talking about anything. So they start to extenuate the negative, and the smallest little negative thing that they'll just go. And really, ultimately, it's their own imperfections and their own insecurities that are brought to light. And they feel the need to disbase somebody. So this is shaming their moral character, or like, you're not supposed to do this because you're you're not supposed to make any mistakes. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to. And then maybe shaming somebody for small little mistakes. Maybe it could be sexual actions. You know what I'm saying? So somebody who has real sexual insecurities themselves will start to shame somebody. And they'll maybe start to call other people names. Resorting to their sexuality and this and that, and it's because their own sexual weaknesses are basically being verbalized and felt in a different way. Like Sigmund Freud would say, that's because they have small junk. Okay, is exactly what he would say. And that insecurity and that weakness, but yet to feel the need to make fun of somebody else's and call other people names, and somehow they think that they're getting energy from that, and it's really a sickness. They're really like sick people and sick puppies, because what business is that of theirs? Is that any business of theirs? Nope. But yet they try to make it their business. They try to make, and it's their own flaws and their own imperfections. And so I wanted to get into some of this, what I'm saying. And the truth is that we all make mistakes. We all have imperfections. We all have flaws, and saying that and admitting that, and maybe admitting that there's a problem, maybe admitting that there's that could be some type of admission of guilt to a narcissist, and they don't want to feel guilty for being imperfect. Okay, but yet we all are. Okay, but yes, that's one of the fundamental basis for growth. Okay, so having a fundamental basis for growth, and once that's realized, you may not realize it, but once that's realized, a healing process can start. And that once somebody is in a state of denial, this can be dangerous, because once they are still in that state of denial, they may do any and all costs to avoid the healing process. Okay, they may, they'll try to sabotage anything, start telling lies, and because their own insecurities are, their subconscious realizes their own insecurities. Okay. And so, they start to fat shame other people, make fun of other people's sexual orientations, making fun of other people's race, other people's culture, making fun of other people, period, and yet at the same time acting like they're so perfect, or they'll start to boast or brag about something that was impossible, something that they didn't even do, something that they weren't even there, something that was irrelevant to them because it didn't affect anybody else, but yet they made it their business too, because they're insecure in their own weaknesses, and their subconscious realizes it, and thus it was verbalized, okay, by them shaming somebody else for something that wasn't their business. And that's the psychopath. That's the psychopathy. That's where psychopathy happens. And so you have to realize that these people they're cuckoo. Okay, they got some cuckoo problems going on, but and once that's realized, acknowledging it to yourself is one thing. But if the psychopath, they try to play psychological games and set up a psychopath little trap. Okay, so they can make fun of somebody's sexual orientations, or sit there and call somebody names, or sit there and call somebody a name for their race, sit there and call somebody a name for their culture, this and that. But as soon as you acknowledge it, they accuse other people of talking stuff. Okay, man, they're talking noise now. They shouldn't have been talking noise when they were antagonists and they caused a problem in the first place. It's them. Okay, so it can be dangerous when you're dealing with these people because they're absolutely cuckoo, usually not intelligent enough, not talented enough, and their own subconscious realizes that. And once the numbers come out, they start to realize it. And they maybe not want other people to see the numbers. They'll probably go through any step possible for other people to see the numbers and to actually realize the truth. But ultimately, their own subconscious has realized that they were pathetic, and they didn't meet the bar. They didn't meet the standard. Okay, for achievement. Okay, so they start to they want to stay in this state of denial, and they'll do anything in all steps possible to stay in a state of denial. Okay, staying in the state of denial, and admitting that their own flawed ego. See, it must be shattered. And the numbers will do it. The numbers will shatter the ego. Okay. But ultimately the subconscious, being true and knowing the truth, that guilt is felt, and the narcissist cannot stand the guilt. They can't stand to want to feel the guilt, want to, so it'll start a narcissistic, circle of toxicity. Okay, that's the best way that I could put it. It'll spin them out of control in the narcissistic circle, which can go all different ways, but it'll start to spin them out of control because they don't want to feel the guilt and their own insecurity, but yet they feel this need to overstep their bounds in so many different ways. Okay. And, you'll just have to admit, like, these people are freaking cuckoo, and that you're just going to have to stay far away from them is probably the best bet. But also, have to analyze your own actions. Maybe it might take you into a different realm where you're able to grow yourself. Okay. So, I'm going to do another video here in a minute, and continue to talk about the different things. But, and step 5, jealousy. What is jealousy? Jealousy is to want. Jealousy is to want something that you don't have. And narcissists, that's where it crosses the line, because they affect other people. They want what you have. Okay. They will go through any steps possible to get what you have. Okay. And that could be something like your own happiness, your own self-worth, your own confidence, your own securities. And then they start to misrepresent themselves as being perfect, all at the same time while shaming you, while fat shaming you, trying to fat shame you. They could make fun of, they try to make fun of your sexual orientation. They might try to make fun of your looks. They might try to make fun of your height. They might try to make fun of your size. They might try to make fun of your race. They might try to make fun of your culture. And at the same time, they're acting like they're so perfect, acting like their life's so perfect. They're pretending that they don't make any mistakes. And but yet at the same time, why would they, if they were so perfect, yet they find it necessary to want to shame others, because that's their own insecurities coming to light, and they need to falsely reinflate their insecurities with feeling the need to shame you. So that's what arrogance is. Okay, so being completely arrogant, and that's a major cuckoo problems. Okay, so if people, they got major issues, you know what I'm saying, and that could be related to, you know, going back to the voids and this and that, and if you even have time to identify somebody else's cuckoo problems, you know, just realize you'd be way better just staying far away from you know, somebody that has serious psychological problems and issues. And the thing about it is that you know, once you start to identify this, you not verbalizing it or just going, man, these people are freaking, this dude's a whack job, that probably would just be the best, and just leaving them alone and not ever talking to them, and just realizing that these people they're so weak mentally and so weak, their subconscious is realizing that, and that's why they're actually verbalizing and feeling the need to want to shame other people, make other people want to feel guilty, because they don't want to feel guilty themselves for being who they are in the mirror. Okay, and once the numbers come out, they don't lie. The numbers come out, and they'll just be black and white, irrelevant of feeling that emotion. And so yeah, I'm gonna do another little video here, but yeah, so that's what arrogance is, you know. So it's two things happen simultaneously. It's acting like they're so perfect, they don't make no mistakes, they're incapable of making mistakes, because they're trying to avoid guilt, they're trying to avoid the shame themselves but insecurities are surfacing because their subconscious is aware of their weaknesses. The subconscious is aware of their own weaknesses, and so they start to want to shame other people. Okay, so that's what the arrogance is, and it's pretty much, you know, it crosses the line because they're affecting other people. They're bad mouthing other people. They're telling lies on other people. They start to spread rumors. They start to talk about things and start to feel other people wanting to feel shame about things that aren't their business. They start to want to shame other people for things that they're not that are irrelevant. Okay, completely irrelevant, but they're just and it's kind of childish in so many ways, because somebody would have to be really weak mentally to want to do that, or continue to do that, or focus all their time. That's all they do. So that's what arrogance is. Two things happen simultaneously, acting like they're so perfect and so great, and capable of making mistakes, and yet shaming other people and talking about how bad other people are, you know, despacing them and diminishing their talents. So that's all.